Steam is absolutely crushing it right now. You know, in the age of censorship, when all these companies and social media platforms want to keep you from saying what's really on your mind, Steam has gone the opposite direction. And it's just allowing everyone unmoderated to say exactly what they feel about certain games. And games journalists are freaking out about this because they've had a hold on this industry for so long. And now you have Steam, which has become this massive behemoth, which is just running away from everybody. And everyone on that platform gets to say whatever is on their mind about the games that they're playing. And they don't hide the data. It's all out there for you to see. It's pretty remarkable. So Steam is absolutely crushing it. And this, I want to play this because he is absolutely spot on with this. Watch this.
There has very much been a cultural revolution within the video game industry between the players and the publishers and the media, and a lot of it has been platformed off of Steam. Not actively, so to say, more passively than anything else, because it's one of the only places, it's one of the only platforms where the customer still has a voice.
Yeah, it's organic. So what I think he means is, and what I'm saying is, it's organic. That people can actually say what they think, and they've just created a platform that's open. And in many ways, look what's happened with X, right? I mean, I know people didn't like it, and I don't care where you come down politically, but it doesn't matter. But if you want to say something, you can say it there. You can dislike it, and if you want to be a little crybaby and run over like Blue Sky or something like that, a platform that, you know, snowflakes would want to hang out on because they need to be in an echo chamber. And by the way, I give Blue Sky very little time to live, like it's going to die. I guarantee it. Because again, this is why Steam is successful. Steam is successful because they've not done that. They've allowed it to be open, and people can say whatever they want. And you're a big boy, you can handle it, and you can make your own decisions about what people are saying. Do you want to read it or not? Unlike places like Reddit or Blue Sky, if you post certain things, you'll be banned or blocked or deplatformed, but not on Steam.
And that voice can be heard. We just don't see that in a lot of other places. And I don't think a lot of people have picked up on this, but not only has Steam been getting more popular, they've been on a warpath. They've been setting up rules and regulations for all of these other publishers to follow, and if they don't fall in line, well, then they're not going to be on Steam, and these guys want to be on Steam. And I realize that a lot of people are going to push back and say that's a lot of power for one company to have, and you're absolutely right in that. But from my perspective, they've also become our de facto legislators in an industry that is wildly underregulated. They are putting consumer protections in place in an industry where those consumer protections don't exist. And why are they doing it? Well, it's because they value their audience. We've had plenty of conversations about an industry.
Yeah, and they're a private company. You know, people forget. So this is one of those things. Keeping Valve as a private company, there's a huge benefit here because they can do what they want and they don't have to answer to shareholders who are just driving profits and revenue. I mean, this is where you saw this massive push for ESG, right? And because of ESG, you had this group of individuals driving all of these companies to get on board with it, and it crushed their companies. And the same thing with DEI. And that absolutely has hindered and crushed a lot of companies. And so when you don't have to answer to shareholders, you can do what you want as a small company, and Valve's a small company.
At war with its own audience. Well, this is the last bastion of that industry where they still care about us. So from hitting 40 million concurrent players on Steam and exposing Activision Blizzard to beating Amazon and not even knowing it, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the continued success of Steam and how they're drawing battle lines nobody wants to cross.
Can you think about that? Like how these guys beat Amazon? I mean, a behemoth, really? I mean, how did they do that? I mean, Amazon right now is pushing, is crushing UPS. UPS is going to lose a massive amount of its business to Amazon. They managed to get into that space because they have so many delivery trucks now that they don't even need to use UPS. And I think, was it 40, 50, or 60% of all UPS's business came from Amazon, and now Amazon's about to flip that switch and say, we don't need you anymore. It's going to destroy. I mean, it's unbelievable. So how did Steam beat Amazon?
If Steam was ever going to have a competitor, it would have been Amazon because they have the money, the infrastructure, the Twitch integrations they could do to be able to create something massive, but instead they threw billions at a problem and made nothing. A former Amazon executive admitted as much in a recent article from Windows Central written by Michael Hoagland titled "Amazon Admits Defeat to Steam as Former VP Declares, We were 250 times bigger, but Goliath lost. Just because you're big enough to build something doesn't mean people will use it." Michael writes, in a LinkedIn post, Ethan Evans recalls his loss to Steam when he led the division. "We were at least 250 times bigger, and we tried everything, but ultimately Goliath lost." That's an interesting choice of words when you compare market share. While it's true Amazon by itself is a company that vastly outsizes Steam, no other company has ever held a portion of the PC market like Steam has. To me, they've always been Goliath. It's just been other Goliaths coming to battle them with similar tools and identical features, but a simple change of attire. Ethan admits to misunderstanding what it took to take on the giant. At Amazon, we assumed that size and visibility would be enough to attract customers, but we underestimated the power of existing user habits. We never validated our core assumptions before investing heavily in solutions. The truth is, gamers already had a solution to their problems, and they weren't going to switch to another platform just because a new one was available. When a person is happy, they don't go look elsewhere because something else is available. When a player has a large library of games, achievements, friends, and hours spent on a product platform, what's the reason for them to shift? Beep boop does not compute. We fail to understand user habits. These suits are complete bots failing to understand anything about the industry, the games, or the players. Just one time I want to hear these guys say something that genuinely reflects the perspective of the players. Just one time I want them to put themselves in the players' shoes. They were so close saying gamers already have a solution. The issue is these suits don't understand the problem being solved is them. Amazon thought that they could brute force their way into the PC gaming space, but they never understood why people use Steam in the first place. Steam's not just a storefront, it's a platform that's built on trust. Valve isn't some faceless mega corporation.
Yeah, and that trust is so important. And I don't know if you know, but so many people are upset at Amazon and have been. Just look at, I don't know if you follow like any sort of Kindle YouTubers or people that like book readers. I read a lot of books, but there's like a whole, there's a whole, YouTube ecosystem of people that say, I'm leaving Amazon. I'm ditching Amazon. I'm not going to be buying my digital books on Kindle anymore. Where Amazon does a whole lot of really shady things with its Kindle books. And it's also massive censorship platform. I know this firsthand, and I can tell you from journalists that I've spoken with who've written books specifically calling out certain subjects, they get blocked or they're not even allowed to run advertising on Amazon because Amazon doesn't like the subject matter of the book. So you see, like, they've already lost trust with. Can you imagine gamers going over there and Amazon blocks certain games from, I don't know, a game like Stellar Blade or something like that because the wokerati, the woke mob says that they don't like, for there to be a beautiful woman in a video game. Or hiding negative reviews of a game like Dragon Age Veilguard or something like that. Because of some sort of a woke agenda, again, this is what Amazon does. So they have a long track record of it. They block certain products. They will not allow certain people to run ads for their products. I've spoken to a journalist who wrote a whole expose, a book in Canada about the COVID, and she was a researcher. And Regina Wattiel is her name, actually. And we've had her on the show, and she's spoken at great lengths at how Amazon suppressed her book on purpose. And so this happens, and you have a lot of people who are angry. They don't want that. They don't want the censorship. They don't want these companies telling you what to read, what to see, and trying to shield you from reading negative things or trying to push a certain agenda. We're sick of it. And so you're seeing this with Valve. You're seeing this with Steam. Like, there's a response here from customers that are like, let me decide what games I want to play. Let me figure it out.
And chasing quarterly earnings reports, it's a company ran by people who actually understand games. When they make changes, it's almost always in the favor of the developer or the player. They give developers real tools. They don't try to nickel and dime their players. They treat the ecosystem like a living thing, not a cash register. Meanwhile, Amazon thought that they could just throw some money at Twitch streamers, slap together a launcher, and all of a sudden compete with Steam, but they were wrong. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to use Amazon's half-assed gaming service. Even with all of their unlimited money, they still couldn't buy relevance. And that's why Steam is untouchable. It's not about the games, it's about how the platform treats you. And unlike every other company within this industry, Valve doesn't treat its customers like walking ATMs. Amazon failed, Epic failed, Ubisoft failed. Every single competitor who has tried to take on Steam has failed, and it's because Well, Valve actually respects their customers. Imagine that, a company that doesn't hate us. I'll be honest with you guys, if it wasn't for me actually reading these headlines, I wouldn't even have known that Amazon even had a storefront. That's how little people were talking about it. That's how little people were interested in it.
I gotta admit, I didn't either. I didn't know. And I spent a lot of time on Amazon, but I had no idea that they had like a gaming storefront. Are you kidding me? It's just like, I didn't even know really up into they even like Amazon Music. Like, who's using Amazon Music? I'm sure maybe people are, but like you can go like an Amazon Music downloader. You can like download MP3s and like listen to them through the Amazon Music downloader. It's like, I didn't either, but I didn't even know they had a gaming front end.
Anything other than Steam. And Steam's success isn't going to be stopping anytime soon because it's part of a much bigger shift in this industry. PC gaming is growing faster than ever, and the data proves it. As reported by IGN in an article titled Steam Tops 40 Million Concurrent Players for the First Time as We All Jump In to Play Monster Hunter Wilds, Vicky Blake reports Steam, the most popular digital game distributor for PC players, has once again broke its own concurrent user record, breaching 40 million concurrent players for the first time. Over the weekend, which just so happened to coincide with Monster Hunter Wilds launch on Friday, February 28th, Steam logged 40,270,997 simultaneous players, breaking its previous record of 39.9 million players set in February 2025. In fact, according to SteamDB, Steam's concurrent record, seen by some as a way of measuring the success of Valve's digital platform, has been broken almost every single month since May 2024, with the concurrent peak rising from 35.5 million players to 40.2 million in just 6 months. So now let's put all this into perspective. Steam isn't just growing, it's growing faster than ever. While gaming platforms are struggling with engagement loss, live service failures, and subscription fatigue, well, Steam is doing the exact opposite. Every single month, their records keep breaking. Every year, their foothold in the industry gets stronger. And that's because PC gaming isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Consoles used to be the convenient option. Plug it in, press start, and play. But that illusion has started to crack. Next-gen console hardware launched with big promises, but what did the players actually get? 30 FPS modes, aggressive upscaling, missing features, and all the while, these platforms have done little to improve the customer experience. I mean...
Yeah, he's right. I mean, I got a PS5 Pro right before Christmas, and right before the end of the year, I should say. So I wanted to do it as a business write-off. I don't really, I mean, other than just, some beauty in like playing Stellar Blade and a little bit faster. I mean, it really, I know Sony's now actively, they just addressed this past week. They're going to be actively really working on that for the PS5 Pro and in their new software development. But I mean, right now, I mean, really, like they're really not doing anything to like entice me on these consoles. I told you about all my problems playing the Xbox Series X, trying to play Indiana Jones during the holiday, and I couldn't play it. So I jumped over to Steam and finally was able to play it and had a great experience. And then I was even able to jump in bed and play it on my Steam Deck, even though it's not Steam Deck friendly. I was still able to play it just fine on the Steam Deck. Cloud saves and everything worked back and forth. Imagine that. So, it's funny, this Monster Hunter Wild story, because... well, the performance has been pretty crap, really crap. Even Digital Foundry said they couldn't even recommend it on PC. And yet so many people are playing it on their Steam Decks. People are downloading it. And regardless of the fact that it's not very good on PC at all, people are still playing it. 40 million concurrents.
We have people that are buying the hardware outright, subscribing to play online using the internet they already own, and they're being filtered into a limited ecosystem of games where their reviews mean nothing. They're being bombarded with ads on their dashboard, and they're locked out of basic features. What exactly are these people playing for? Of course they're going to start going to PC. And then we have streaming culture, because more players aren't just playing games anymore. They're creating content. They're streaming on Twitch, editing clips for YouTube, and engaging with gaming in ways that, well, consoles just simply weren't built for. The Steam Deck has made a huge difference as well. This is one of the smartest things that Valve has ever done, because it's not just a handheld PC, it's a bridge. It pulled in console players who had never touched Steam before, and once they saw what was possible, no paid subscription.
That was me. That was me for sure. Yeah. I jumped in and started playing PC games for the first time in 20 years. I used to play PC games all the time when I was a kid. Back to playing Bard's Tale and Stronghold from Firefly Studios and SimCity and all that stuff that I used to play on the PC back in the day. I haven't played a PC game in years.
The ability to tweak and mod things whenever you want to. Why would you go back? More games, fewer restrictions. Steam doesn't have the same walled garden nonsense that PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox do. Early access thrives here. Indie games have a real shot at success. Modding is alive and well, and Valve isn't strong-arming developers into exclusivity.
Yeah, let me just push back on that a little bit. I mean, I love my Nintendo Switch, and the reason I love it is because it just works. I put a cartridge in, and it works. And with a Steam Deck, you may or may not have that experience. Sometimes you're just going to have crashes. You're going to have to deal with, if you're not into the modding scene or you're not into tweaking all sorts of settings and going in and changing frame rates and all of those sorts of things, you could definitely run into issues, and so that I agree with that. But I want to say that to me, it was a bridge. For me, absolutely, the Steam Deck has been a bridge to being able to play PC games, and I've been really loving it. And I mean, let's just talk about the sales. And sometimes I'll just sit there on the couch, I'll just grab it just to go to the store. I'll just jump into the store and see if there's like any good deals right now. And then, like the other day, I was like looking for Stronghold, found a really good deal of the original Stronghold game that I want to be able to play on PC, and I bought it on the Steam Deck. I know I'm not going to play it on the Steam Deck. I'm going to play it on the PC. So in many ways, it's like a portal for me to go buy games too.
Deals and trying to push a storefront that nobody wants. But arguably the biggest catalyst for Steam's recent success is actually the launch of Steam China back in 2021. While initially the adoption rate was pretty slow, we've seen with the launch of Black Myth Wukong and more recently Monster Hunter Wilds just how much of an impact that can have. I myself am welcoming my Chinese brethren into the fold because these guys do not put up with poor optimization. Did you guys know that most of the negative reviews on Monster Hunter Wilds were written in simplified Chinese?
Is that true? That's crazy. Is that true? My daughter doing gymnastics upstairs, smashing into the floor. That's crazy. So they're just like, hey, we're going to give this a lower review, and here's our thoughts because it's just not optimized for the PC, and they're like no BS. And I know that from my Chinese friends. I work with bunch of different people in Beijing and different areas, and they just cut right to this. They're like Germans in that way. They just cut right to the chase. They'll just tell you straight out what the problem is. They don't beat around the bush.
Steam now has access to one of the biggest consumer markets in the entire world with a population of 1.4 billion people. That's going to have an effect. The numbers don't lie. PC gaming isn't just growing, it's pulling in players away from consoles, and Steam is leading the charge. Not because they're trying to force anybody's hand, but because at the end of the day, they don't need to. When given a choice, players choose Steam, and that says everything. And Steam's only going to get bigger, especially because of Steam China, because we've already seen that month after month, we're going to see more and more of these Chinese games release. And we saw the effect of Black Myth Wukong and how many players that brought into the eco.
I still haven't played Black Myth. I got it on the PS5, and I was waiting because I wanted to play it on the PS5 Pro, but then I had all sorts of issues. That's the thing we're talking about here. It's like you bought the PS5 Pro, and then for how great like Black Myth Wukong is going to look, and then it has all these problems. I think the reports where it played worse than the PS5 base version. So that's crazy.
System. And with some of these Chinese games that are going to be coming out, they're going to get national support, and that's going to act like a bullhorn that's going to bring in more Western players. They're going to be attracted to that game and how popular it is. That's how this thing continues to work. And other than GOG, see, I mentioned GOG, praise me in the comments.
GOG. So I've been, this is, I hope he's bringing up a good point here about So my biggest problem, like I'm a physical game collector. And I love physical games. And so it's really hard for me to just move over to like a digital library. But the writing is on the wall. I mean, the next Xbox is not going to have a digital hard drive. It's not going to have a disk drive. I'd be shocked at this point if the PS6, the PlayStation 6 has a disk drive. If anything, it's probably going to be some little dongle thing you're going to connect. It's not even going to be a part of it. It's not going to even look as nice as the one currently does that snaps on. Be hard. Maybe the Nintendo Switch. This might be the last Nintendo Switch or the last Nintendo console that has physical media. So for that, I'm kind of upset. I'm really upset about it. But I see where it's going, unfortunately. But then the next frontier, and I think this is going to come up on Capitol Hill because I know that J.D. Vance, I know that President Trump, and I know others. I think J.D. Vance they just had a meeting about digital assets and ownership of digital assets. And so this is going to be the next battle, like on Capitol Hill, which is, what do I own? I know, they don't want you to own anything. You'll own nothing and be happy, right? That's the World Economic Forum's message. Klaus Schwab. But what do I own? So within Steam, I own a license. I don't actually own the game. Now, it's great that as long as Steam's around, great. Then I take those games with me, hopefully. But again, I point out, like what Amazon has done is removed books from people's Kindles. But I bought the book. You're taking my book away from me? Sony taking movies away from people's digital libraries. So what do we actually own? And so GOG, Good Old Games, I just listened to a really interesting interview with them the other day. I'll link it up in the description on the Retro Hour podcast, and had a really interesting deep dive conversation with the creators and the team that works at GOG. And, they're DRM free, so digital rights management free, so that you own it. You buy the game, you own it, and it's yours. You can put it on any hard drive you want. It's yours. And you can add it to your Steam library. You can play it on wherever. And so I get, in many ways, you own that in perpetuity, really. You own that executable. You own that file. But you don't, not necessarily with Steam. You can take it forward as you get new PCs over the years, and it's going to play better. But what if Steam goes away? What if, like, Amazon buys Steam? What if they throw them a couple billion, multiple billions of dollars, and they buy Steam? Or they buy Valve, excuse me. It's a private company. At some point, something's going to happen. Either they're going to go public or someone's going to buy them. I hate to say it. Am I wrong about that?
I don't see any reason for me to use any other platform that's out there, because none of them are as consumer friendly and as convenient as Steam is. Sure, I realize that that's monopolistic, but I really like it when a monopoly works for me. And that's exactly what Steam does. Steam works for me. At a glance, I can see everything that I want to about a game. I can see how many people are playing it. I can see what people are saying about it. I can see screenshots or the trailers or people streaming it. They have streams right on Steam. I can see what content's included in the version I want to buy. Maybe it's included in a bundle, or maybe it's on sale. It'll put up in big, bold, yellow text whether or not it has any type of third-party software like DRM or whatever else it might be.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, within 2 hours, I can return it, no questions asked. And you just do not have those things on any other platform.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them.
That's crazy. That's crazy that I can just return it, within a few hours. No questions asked. No questions asked. And because they've got that monopoly, what are these publishers supposed to do? They have to take it back. Oh, your game sucks. It's not optimized. I want my money back. Okay.
It makes no sense to me how any of these companies would try to compete with Steam if they will not compete on their terms. If you are not trying to iterate on the things that make Steam successful, the reason why people go to Steam in the first place, then why are you even trying? All you're doing is wasting time and money, because every single month that you're not doing what they do, well, players are buying more games on Steam, they're becoming more invested on that platform, and it's getting even more popular, and you won't stand a chance. But I think that's the critical issue. It's not that they don't understand why Steam works or why Steam is popular. It's that they hate that it does, because they hate how user-friendly it is. They hate how much control and how much transparency it has. They hate how much control the players have, how much choice the players have. And they really don't like the fact that they have to operate on Steam's terms instead of their own. Steam isn't just a storefront, it's an industry watchdog, and that becomes more obvious every year. Activision Blizzard recently tried to sneak in AI-generated art into Call of Duty without telling anyone, letting players assume that they were paying for real handcrafted content, until Steam's latest policy forced them to come clean. As of 2025, Steam requires full transparency. If a game contains AI-generated content, it has to be disclosed up front. AI itself isn't necessarily the issue. I don't think that players are necessarily against it, but I think that players are against paying more for less. AI should, in theory, lower costs and improve efficiency, yet somehow publishers are using it to cut corners while still charging premium prices. That's what players hate. Not that AI exists, but that it's being used to shortcut and pump out lazy, overpriced content. And if Steam hadn't stepped in, publishers would have kept pretending like it wasn't happening at all. And this isn't the first time that Valve has forced publishers to play fair. In 2024, EA openly discussed adding in-game advertisements, one of the most profitable ways to be able to nickel and dime your customers at the expense of their experience, but Steam shut it down immediately. They banned forced advertisements in games just like that. While other companies may see gaming as another passive entertainment platform to monetize like streaming services, Valve made it clear players should not have to sit through a commercial break to play a game that they paid for. No wonder Sony's been so hesitant to move to Steam. I'm sure they'd love to cash in on that ad patent they've been sitting on. But if that wasn't enough, and this is something we've talked about in a previous video, Valve also cracked down on one of the biggest publisher scams, selling season passes and DLC with no intention on delivering the content on time. For years, developers have been getting away with promising post-launch expansions, collecting money up front, and either delaying their content indefinitely or just canceling it altogether. But Steam changed the rules. Now, if a developer misses their content or their DLC deadline and they don't notify Steam of the delay, Steam will automatically refund players. No waiting, no arguing, just instant refunds.
Yeah, and those publishers, they get a chargeback. So the money that was like sitting in their account, the money that was sitting, they suddenly find out that they're in the negative. All that money removed, those payments reversed, charged back. Oh, you're going to fight this? Sorry, then you're not on our platform anymore. And it's going to get to a point, too, with some of these publishers, mark my words, where Steam is going to say to somebody like Ubisoft or somebody else, like, I'm sorry, we're putting you in a timeout. You're not going to be able to publish on our platform. And, you might say, oh, that's monopolistic. It's not. I mean, they can go and they can certainly publish right off their own. You can download their own launcher. You can find it yourself, download, their own launcher, launch their games, find it yourself, go get it. And, you might say, well, Steam's doing this because, it's for the user experience. Yeah, of course they are. Because they know the more people are happy using their platform and they're protected, then the more people are going, word of mouth. I'm making a video about it right now. How many thousands of people are going to see this video who might not have even used Steam before or were thinking about it, maybe never bought a Steam Deck. Maybe are going to buy it for the first time because they're learning this about Steam. Wait, it's a company that cares about its customers? Shocking. Holy smokes, really? Yeah, at the end of the day, though, they want to make money because the better their platform is, the better and more robust it is, more people are going to join it. So more customers come. That's how it works.
Name another platform that does that. You can't. But what really pisses off these publishers about Steam isn't their policies, it's their transparency. Valve actually gives the players the information they need before making a purchase. And that's a serious threat to an industry that's built on hype, artificial scarcity, and manufactured popularity. Taking current player data, for example, Steam lets players see exactly how many people are playing a game in real time, a feature that Ubisoft reportedly wanted to see them remove, but it's obvious why they would want to have it gone. Publishers...
Oh my God, is that true? I didn't know that. That's hilarious. Ubisoft wanted them to get rid of it. Like they don't want people to see. It's like when YouTube removed the dislike button, They just gave in to the woke mob. Too many people are being told that people don't like a certain person's video, so we need to protect somebody. We need to protect sensibilities. So YouTube removes the dislike button.
Do not want you to see the actual numbers. They want you listening to journalists to tell you that the game is popular. But on Steam, you don't have to take anyone's word for it. You can go see the numbers yourself. You can go see if a live service game is thriving or barely hanging on. You can decide if it's worth investing your money into, or if it's already a ghost town that won't last another 6 months.
See, this is the thing with Avowed, right? Because there are all these game journalists who, like at Polygon and Kotaku and all these other places, telling you why Avowed was great, and then you go in and you saw the amount of people playing it on Steam, and no one's playing the damn game. So, do you want to invest in that, especially if it's a multiplayer game where you're going to be a part of a community, right? Do I want to be a part of this if there's not going to be anyone here anytime soon because it's such a crap game? I'm not going to be able to play with other people because no one's playing it. Well, am I going to spend $70 on this? And you can see the reviews right there. That's the thing. They want to hide this. We used to have to rely on games journalists for these things.
And that's a problem because this directly conflicts with their financial goals. These companies have no problem making players spend money before they eventually pull the plug. And they have no issue gaslighting players into believing a game is alive and well when it's not. You know what else directly impacts their sales, or at least should? Reviews. And nothing forces publishers to be more honest than Steam's review system. This isn't just a feature, it's one of the most powerful forces in gaming. A single bad decision can sink your game overnight. When Sony tried to force in PlayStation logins into Helldivers 2, Steam players review bombed the game so hard that Sony backtracked in record time. This wouldn't have happened on any other platform, but on Steam, negative reviews can actually affect sales, which means developers can't ignore them. And it's not.
Yeah, how are you going to do that on PlayStation? I don't even know where the hell reviews sit in PlayStation. Where are they? Am I going to PlayStation.com? No, I'm not. I'm looking on my PlayStation, right? Where are those reviews? They're buried. Well, I don't see any reviews. The eShop. I mean, where in Nintendo am I seeing reviews? I don't know. Good luck trying to find that stuff. Dig for it as much as you want. Here, it's right out in the open, and they can't hide it. Love it.
Not just PC players that are checking out these Steam reviews. Console players are relying on them too, because let's be honest, gaming journalism is dead. IGN, Kotaku, GameSpot, these outlets have turned into nothing more than corporate mouthpieces, handing out 9 out of 10 scores to garbage, half-baked games, dismissing real player concerns and treating criticism like it's toxic. Nobody trusts them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So when we criticize, when we criticize in like Dragon Age Veilguard, like transgender, like top surgeries, or pushing like transgender ideology in a video game, and showing actually the story balance is way off because these other characters were way off balance compared to the trans character in Dragon Age the Veilguard, clearly pushing this agenda on purpose. Right? But of course, if you read any of these, if you hear from the games journalists or IGN or any of these other places, like, then you're just toxic. You're part of the problem. You should really embrace Dragon Age the Veilguard because their character designer is so strong. You can have top surgeries. You can remove parts of your body as part of, like, that's where we are in 2025 now. Like, give me a break. So yeah, that's why we have the beauty of this like organic review system.
Players aren't going to waste their time and money based on some paid-for Metacritic score. Instead, they're going to go check out Steam because that's the place where real, unfiltered player opinions actually matter.
By the way, and they push it too. So I'm playing, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I beat the game, a few weeks ago. I loved it. One of my favorite games ever. And it asks you, at certain increments, like it knows based on your achievements and how far along in the game you are. And it asks you, basically says, hey, you're pretty far in the game. Would you like to now recommend it to somebody else? Like as I'm closing the game out, and shutting it down for the day. It's asking me, it recognizes that like you've put a good amount of time into this game. So you're not just like review bombing it because you've only played it for 5 minutes. Like you've put a good amount of time into it. So do you want to leave like a review and let other people know whether or not they should play it? And I was like, yeah, you know what I do? I want to give this game some love. And so I wrote a little review and I clicked the thumbs up and I said, yeah, this is a great game. Like, yeah, I'm pretty far. I'm like 30% into the game now and I'm loving it. Here, yeah, that's my thought. And I was able to do that. And I'm able to do that and help other people. So Steam is actively asking you for reviews. They're encouraging you to be honest about it. Not just like promoting reviews. They're actively asking you.
Steam lets players organize and warn each other. Unlike other platforms that try to suppress discussions that might hurt their sales, Steam allows open, unmoderated discussions.
Yes.
Sweet Baby Detected as an example, a group that tracks a specific game consultancy agency that was involved with writing different games. Whether you agree with them or not, players deserve the right to know who is shaping their games and if they want to buy something that they are involved.
Yeah, like a racist Sweet Baby Incorporated that basically tells its employees, like, don't write in white protagonists. Don't have like strong white characters anymore. Like we need to make sure, like we've got to remove white people from our games, basically. You know what? I don't want to be a part of, you want to call it reverse racism? No, there's no such thing as reverse racism. It's just racism. Like, I don't want to buy any games from a company like that, that's involved with that. I don't want to be a part of that. So how do I track that? And Steam allows you to like track it right there, And then when when the company changes its name and they try to get away from that name and they're switching names, like, we're going to track that. I'd like to know. Please, is your company racist? Yeah, I'm not going to buy games from you.
The gaming press wanted Steam to shut it down. Developers tried to call for its removal, but Valve, they didn't cave. They didn't censor it.
Yeah.
They left it up. Here's the truth. Steam doesn't just compete with these other storefronts.
That to me is one of the biggest moments. Like, I love Rumble because Rumble, the video platform, we stream my other show, my news show every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and we stream on YouTube and Rumble. And I love Rumble because it's a free speech platform. There's times when we're streaming live on YouTube and where we have to say to the audience, hey, we can't do this next story on YouTube because they'll ban us, they'll block us. So we're going to say goodbye to you guys on the stream now. We're going to just hop over to Rumble. So I love that they didn't back down. I really do. I love that they stood their ground and Valve didn't back down on that. That's reason enough for me to like really want to embrace this company.
It is regulating the entire industry. Anytime Steam makes a change or bans something entirely, these publishers and developers have to fall in line. Otherwise, they're not going to have their games on the biggest platform in the world. And with how hard it's been for some of these companies to actually profit off of some of their games, they cannot afford to not be on Steam. That's why Steam is such a threat to modern gaming. It exists in direct opposition to everything that these big publishers have been wanting. It's too user-friendly. It gives players too much control. It's too transparent. And
Also, I really think that as a result of this, we are going to see better games. Steam is creating an environment where we're going to have better games because of it. Because when you see what I mean by that is we can have like Kotaku and IGN telling us to go buy Dragon Age Veilguard. But then when we get out there and we see the reviews on Steam, and it totally tanks, there's a reason it's totally tanking. And therefore, you hope that publishers are, should we spend $100 million to make another woke video game or something that's just subpar like Avowed? Should we spend all of our money to make something like that? Or look at Monster Hunter Wilds. Seriously, just look at that. Or look at Hades. Look at the review scores for Hades 2. Should we be able to throw games where people are buying them and they're spending a lot of time? And it's out there in the open. It's like a free metric for you to study if you're a game developer. We see the data. Let's try to make games that are good, that people like. How about that? Imagine. It's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it? Imagine that.
it forces them to play fair. And that's why these companies keep trying so hard to replace it. Epic burned billions trying to make a competitor. Amazon failed before they even got started. Ubisoft, EA, and a bunch of other publishers have abandoned their own PC launchers because nobody wanted them. Yeah. Every attempt to take Steam down has failed. And why is that? Well, that's because when given a choice, players are always going to choose freedom over control. And that's why they're choosing Steam. Valve isn't just another faceless corporation. It still operates like a game developer. It's not run by marketing executives or analysts that don't play games. It's run.
Can you imagine if Steam says, you know what, we're now implementing DRM free games. Game over. Then I have to say, you know, as much as I'm like a physical game collector, I'd be all in. I'd be all in. I say, that's it. Now I can keep all of my games on a hard drive. I've got them all. I've got every game that I want. I can play it on any PC, any hardware that I want. Oh man, if Steam does that, oof.
By people who actually understand video games. They make video games. That's why Steam has a clear identity and one that prioritizes the players over the publishers. And that's why every single competitor is going to fail. Amazon, Epic, Xbox, EA, Ubisoft, every single one of these PC platforms was built by people who only put profits first and players second. They don't understand their audience because they aren't their audience. But Steam is different. It was built for the players, and because of that, Valve is the only company that is actually regulating the industry. I, for one, am completely happy that we have Steam on our side, and they are the ones that are laying out the rules right now. Because if they weren't doing it, then nobody would. Because, well, you know, in a lot of cases, there's nobody that's actually trying to fight on our side legislatively. It's governments and whatnot. Half these people are too old to really understand video games to begin with, and they don't really care about it. And even if they did, well, they just probably have some people that would lobby against it, and then they'd make it worse. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I will say, like, they're right now fighting for digital asset rights. So, again, maybe they're going to even force Valve's hand. So I think Valve should see the writing on the wall, what's coming. The move now is to give us access and rights to physical ownership of digital assets. So maybe Valve could take the bull by the horns here and lead on this issue. You know, we don't have to say, oh, well, GOG is amazing, you know, because they have DRM free. Like Valve could actually lead the charge here and say, and then it's game over. I'm sorry. Because to me, that's one area where a company could come along and say, you the differentiator in the business and say, with Steam, you don't actually own your games. You own a license to your games. How would you like to come over here to this new platform? We're going to do everything that Steam does with open reviews, great, supportive customer service, but we're actually going to and it's DRM free. That's huge. No, GOG has thousands of games. So, I'm not saying that they couldn't happen, but hey, wouldn't it be great for Valve to do that?
But there isn't a single company within this industry that could compete with Steam. And I say that with the utmost confidence because you have a company that, one, isn't publicly traded. So they're not being influenced by investors or trying to make money for other people. They're just trying to make money for themselves. And on top of that, these guys make more money per employee than Apple and Google. They're making more than enough money that they don't even care. And the only way for them to make more money, at least from their perspective, is just to invite more players in and then protect that audience, protect those customers, because that's the way that they stay. If you use them and abuse them, well, they're going to go leave. They're going to go somewhere else or something like that. That's not what you want. No. That's the reason why when we look at Steam, for the most part has been on autopilot. They don't need to change anything. They don't need to do anything to it. You don't need to add anything other than video games, more games for me to play and buy. That's the reason why these guys are going back to making video games right now. That's the reason why they're going and making a Steam Deck, because they're making ways to invite more players into the ecosystem rather than milk the players that are already there. That's how their vision is completely opposite for the rest of the entire industry, because these guys are so focused on trying to squeeze every drop out of whoever they have, they end up scaring everybody else away, including the people they're squeezing. That doesn't work out in the long run. Now, while Valve has definitely betrayed us in the past, I'm not going to pretend like they're a perfect company. They are the ones that popularized loot boxes in a lot of ways. From my perspective, they're one of the very few that are still on our side and are still working for our best interests. They're still working for us. And that's the most important thing. Well, I think a lot of people believe that Steam's going to change one day, and fair enough. All companies change. Things change. It's how the world works more than anything else. This company is so small. They make so much money. They only have 300 employees. They have such a focused philosophy on video games and players and customers and their platform. I don't see that going anywhere. When you have a company that small with that strong a leadership, that doesn't just disappear overnight. That doesn't disappear when Gabe Newell leaves the company. Yes, I know we have a 62-year-old man that basically has the health and fairness of the entire video game industry weighing on his shoulders, but he doesn't really take me as the kind of guy that would just walk off and leave somebody else to burn it down. You're likely going to pick somebody that's going to be a solid successor. So yeah. Man, these publishers have to hate Steam. They are stomping all over every single dirty little nasty trick they want to pull. And they're not going to get away with any of it. Not unless. Yeah,
that's why, again, I think it makes gaming better. Absolutely makes it better. Just like look at X, for instance, right? I know, again, I come back to this, all these snowflakes that ran over to Blue Sky. And now X is the number one news platform. This week, we got the numbers. X is now the number one source for news in the world. Take that, New York Times. Turns out when you lie to people and you propagandize, people don't want to read your news. CNN app or whatever else. X is now the number one news source in the world. And that's remarkable because it's an open platform. And so if you're the Washington Post and you do good journalism, you can post on X and people will read it. And if you do crap work, then people are not going to subscribe to you and they're not going to read it. That's how it works in a democracy. It's open. And so these publishers want to hide behind like journalists and other garbage that are, it's keeping them from, it's like really kind of like insulating them from criticism. That's really what it is. It's like insulating them from criticism. And that's exactly what was happening on X and Twitter or whatever before, last year, a couple of years ago. They were being insulated. And if you published in, independent media or anything like that, you would be banned, you'd be blocked or demonetized or downranked, and you just couldn't compete with it. So I'm here for it. I think this is exciting. Again, I'd love to see DRM free content with Valve. That'd be game over to me, for me. But I think that this is going to make gaming much, much better. And I think now studios are going to be forced to sit back and say, you know what, people don't want to play Avowed. People don't want to play Dragon Age Veilguard. People don't want to play these crap games. So why don't we look at what Steam? Let's look at what games people are playing. Oh, 8 million over the weekend for Monster Hunter Wilds. People want to play, Helldivers 2. What are the games that people want to play? Let's make more of those. I think this is going to make gaming better, in my opinion. Let me know what you think down below.